Hello, my name is Dawn Campbell. I'm part of the management team of the IAPC&M, and today we have some guests with us, Tessa Armstrong, who's one of our practitioner coaches, and Louis Godnet, who is one of our master coaches. And the other team members are Adele, Head of Professional Services, Standards, and David Monroe-Jones, our COO. And today it's a roundtable discussion, part of a series of these discussions about why IAPC&M. Why would somebody want to choose us versus another training or accreditation or coaching body around the world? And I know that David and Adele's teams have done a great deal of research on this, so I've invited them together to just share that research with us, and for Tessa and Louis just to share their experiences. So perhaps Adele, if you could kick off, please.
Yeah, sure. When we were thinking about the organisation and thinking about, really raising the standards of coaching and mentoring worldwide, because at the moment it's not mandatory for accreditation, but actually we want it to be something that every coach and mentor aspire to be. And we started looking at some other professions where the title is a protected characteristic. So like a doctor, a nurse, a social worker, midwives, etc. And all of those careers mean that you cannot work in those roles without the correct training or professional registration. So in order for us to really be the best accrediting body that we want to be for our coaches and mentors, we thought the best thing to do is actually, rather than compare ourselves to other coaching and mentoring accrediting bodies, we need to start working to getting to the same level as sort of the medical profession. Because if we keep going comparing ourselves to other coaching bodies, then the coaching industry as a whole will just shuffle forwards. And we want to really, really aspire to be the best that we can be. And the reason why we looked at the medical profession is because that even when we did a lot of research about lawyers, doctors, etc., about competencies, about the kind of things that are required to ultimately get public trust and confidence in a profession, is that everybody aspired to the medical profession because there's a higher risk of when things go wrong. So, and then when we started thinking about, well, really, as coaches and mentors, we are working with people's health. And I'm not talking about health like broken arms, broken legs, etc., but we're working with the well-being of the person's mind, as do doctors, nurses, and social workers. So we wanted to be in a position where our clients, so the people that, that what we build our business on, are demanding actually that they are seeing an accredited professional, because they wouldn't go and see a doctor unless they knew the doctor was A, qualified, and B, registered with the General Medical Council or equivalent. And doctors have to be trained and registered because the public demand it. So we wanted to be in a position where actually we need to raise the bar so that there is a demand for trained and accredited coaches, because if the public demand it, then the coaching accreditation industry and the coaching standards and mentoring standards will grow. So really, that is about thinking about who is the end user. And when you're building any kind of, business, and when as a coach or a mentor you're setting out, or a training provider even, and setting out developing your business, it's always got to be about who is your end user. How can I make my end user have trust and confidence in me, A, as a professional, but in the coaching industry in general? So when we were really thinking about like what our vision and our mission was, and we did go back and looked at other accrediting bodies, and this is why we're at a point of thinking about why would you choose the IAPC&M, but actually none of the other accrediting bodies ever really mention the end user first, or mention the end user. If you went to the General Medical Council, which is what is the registration body for doctors certainly in the UK, their mission statement and their value statement actually starts, their first sentence is, we help to protect patients. So straight away, their vision is about the end user. So when we were looking and doing the work around with the IAPC&M, we differ from other accrediting bodies because our statement of, through accreditation, we build trust in the coaching and mentoring profession for the benefit of everyone. We've actually got the focus and the commitment of thinking about that end user, that client, that person who ultimately drives the industry, really. And if that person, people, organisation are demanding trained and accredited coaches, then coaches and training organisations and mentors will be aspiring to become trained, properly trained and accredited. And this is about us building the trust and the confidence in the public to want to have a higher standard of coach delivering the service. So realistically, and this is where I think we do differ from some of the other accrediting bodies, is because we don't make the IAPC&M about us. It should be about the end user. We need to make sure that the end user receives a high quality service, and all the work that we have and that we've done around our accreditation process, building competencies, all of that is really about getting a high quality service and a high quality of delivery from all of our members. It's make sure that our end users are taken care of. We've got a robust complaints procedure. We've supported our members to have their own complaints procedures in place so that they're always thinking about customer care. And in that sense, that we're doing the best that we can to make sure that the general public is getting the best service possible. And actually, we have the statement about the benefit for everyone, and even if you are sort of, I talk about the end user all the time, but actually for you as a training provider, as a coach or as a mentor, you spent all of that time working and training, and actually, trying to do that, juggling other life commitments. When you've finished your training course, there's nothing worse than seeing somebody else's profile on LinkedIn pop up saying that they're a coach when you know that they've never trained, you know that they've got no accreditation, but they're throwing this word coach around like it's something that you can pick up from the supermarket. And for the people that have worked really, really hard to sit through and to complete an accredited training course, that is so frustrating that we have to be in a position, because people wouldn't generally walk around and go, oh, well, because I knew I had a headache and I took a paracetamol, I'm now a doctor. We don't have that in the medical profession, and we need to get the same ethos and mindset within the coaching, mentoring and training provider business. So actually, accreditation is so important, because by the end, and I wave my accreditation around to anybody who'll listen. So I always put, even if on a LinkedIn bio or whatever, I'm a trained and accredited coach, because I'm making it clear to people that I have accreditation. I have been endorsed as a high standard coach, and I'm proud to be able to do that, because actually what you're saying to your customers is saying, I have been recognised as being a high standard coach. My practice is monitored. And actually, if you're not happy and I can't resolve a complaint, there is another place that you can go in the event that you're not satisfied, because you will be protected as a consumer to get the right quality of care. And actually being able to say that to your clients is, I actually feel proud to do that, because I feel, because I'm able to say that I'm going to deliver the best quality service for that person. And that's absolutely what we should be doing, because it is about them. So to just sort of summarize all of that kind of thing, the reason why I would choose the IAPC&M is because our value statement and our mission and everything that we're doing is the most closely linked to the medical profession, which is where we need to be aiming ourselves, and I'm not saying that we are the medical profession, but we need to be aligning ourselves with those kind of standards. And for me, it's not about picking an accredited body that has the most members. I mean, what does that mean? Well, we've got lots of members, and so what? That doesn't mean you're a good, that the coaching is of a high standard. We know that everybody that passes our accreditation has had to do a hell of a lot of work to do that, because they've been through either a good course or they've had to demonstrate a high level of competency to be accredited by us. So there's all of that comes with it. And so for me, it's about which accrediting body delivers the best quality of coaches, mentors and training organisations. And because we focus on the quality and the end user, I think that we are the best in the business to be the accrediting body for coaches and mentors and training providers.
Wow, thank you. I can certainly hear your passion come through, Adele. You definitely convinced me. I mean, what was your experience? We'll go to Tessa first, as an accredited practitioner coach. I mean, I don't know from what you've just heard Adele say how much of that is new or how much that mirrors your experience.
Yes, in my experience, it's it was definitely something that I thought about a lot when I first trained to be a coach, and I was a bit baffled by the fact that that you didn't have to be accredited to become a coach. And my background was, I was a solicitor, and so to me it was extremely important that I did become an accredited coach to be able to be accountable to my clients, so they could trust that I was investing time and energy in providing the best coaching service I could, and to a high standard. So not only for me personally in my business and building up my business, getting the support I needed, making sure I was developing according to my business in terms of courses and literature to read, etc. It also made me credible. It assured my clients that I was doing all I could. And as Adele said, there's a complaints procedure, so there's something beyond me that my clients can call upon if they need to. And the training I did was accredited, and now an accredited coach, and so I hope that trust is there now to assure my clients that I am doing all I can to provide them with a good service. Yeah,
I think it really proves that you care, as Adele says, about the end user. And from what you and Adele coming from the medical profession, you coming from the legal profession, I think when we're talking to practitioners, and I say that to cover practitioners, senior masters and fellows, when we talk to practitioners who are from another organization that demands that level of accreditation, it's a no-brainer. But for other practitioners who aren't from that kind of background, they don't really understand the connection. Well, they might be certified, but what is the difference between certification and accreditation? And David, you've got a good example about that, haven't you, with universities and driving instructors? Just remind us what that is.
Yeah, the difference really between certification and accreditation is one of levels. So the ones that most people are used to or familiar with are universities, and to a certain degree any sort of school that offers a qualification, in so much as that qualification is a certificate of some description, be that a GCSE, an A level or whatever, and at university level a degree. But they have to be accredited, in their own terminology, to be able to offer that. And a similar example would be, certainly within the UK, the fact that cars, once they reach 3 years old, have to go through an MOT. And you can take your car to any garage for any sort of repair, but garages that are specifically MOT test centres have to be accredited to be able to offer that sort of service. So it's always about moving up to sort of another level. And another way to look at it is that I have a GCSE and I have an O level in biology, which I got many years ago, and I'll not go into the details of how long ago that is. And I can remember snippets of that. I'm not an accredited biologist at all. And accreditation is that ongoing checking process. So just picking up on what Tessa and Adele was saying, it's very much about when you're accredited, it's not just a, right, I've ticked the box, that's it. There is an ongoing process. It's about being part of a body that cares about the end user, as Adele was saying, and continually ensures that anybody who is accredited keeps their skills up to date, is part of a professional body where they can find additional support and additional information, and that again builds this trust element. And I know Adele mentions quite a lot the medical profession, and the other two that I think are incredibly similar are very much that when you board a plane, before you take off, you don't ask a steward or a stewardess to see the pilot's license and a written notification that they have never appeared or intend to appear on air crash investigation and they know what they're doing. You take it for granted. And more as we educate, and it is an education process, the paying public, that look, when you're working with a coach or a mentor, or if you go on a course with a training provider, if you're not working with people at the highest possible level, they can potentially do more damage than they can good. So you want to be starting to ask those questions. And that, that question about, well, what is the difference between accreditation certification, and what is the difference from somebody who is read a book, for want of a better description, very similar to Adele's comment, is being able to answer those questions. I'm professionally trained, I'm professionally qualified, and I've been through an additional accreditation service and process which allows me to indicate that I'm at a higher level. I have to go through that process on a regular basis, and I have additional support from an organization which has your best interest at heart.
Yeah, and that's why we've introduced the 3-yearly accreditation review now, so that the people that we accredit are still delivering the service that we originally accredited and not developed any bad habits. And it's the same with the training providers, that the courses that we accredited are actually the courses being delivered. So I think that is one of the quality assurance steps that we've put in place that does help to build that trust and reassurance of the client that we are determined to give them the highest possible standard service. So Louis, what's your experience? Because obviously you're a master coach now. What's your accreditation journey, please?
I think I'm in a slightly different situation to some of you, at least, in that I started coaching a very, very long time ago, long before there was an industry. And for me, there was a challenge at a particular point in time about how do I get my skills and expertise recognised. And at the time that I was looking around for that, I had basically ended up looking at what it was, the ECI, and I followed that route. I think that's where I first met David. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it mattered to have my experience acknowledged, because what I was finding was that I think it was actually David who said to me, we were on a training course together, and he said, Louis, why aren't you teaching this? And for me, that was a real affirmation, and it encouraged me to claim and get recognised for the many years and many hours of coaching work that I've done. And this body was open to that, and so for me that was a really a crucial part of how I ended up in this body, getting my accreditation rather than one of the others. And I do have to say, I am actually a member of 3. And the reason I am is because it matters to me to understand the whole context of the field, and to see that there are strengths and there are benefits, there are differences and similarities to them all. And I think one of the things that keeps me in IAPC is the international. So I think it was you, Ed, who said at the beginning, it might have been you, Dawn. There's something about the worldwide, and for me, it matters to have some of that diversity represented in the space. And I know there is some of that in the other bodies too. And I'm also, I think there are challenges for all the bodies, and I want to be a part of that conversation about how do we extend our capacity to bring the coherence and care for our end users in a way that is informed by an understanding of complexity and how that plays out in the world. And I think all of the bodies are addressing that in a particular way, which is through competencies and sort of reaccreditation processes. So, you know, people do that differently, and some, I think, have become more interested in the scale of the fees they charge in order for people to do that. And so I think for me, there's a bit of an ethical issue in that, is these bodies shouldn't be about profit bodies. And I think I won't name any, but I think there's certainly one that I would put into that camp. So I think there are challenges about how do we, what does quality assurance mean when we're living in a world of complexity where we can't actually control or manage with certainty in the ways that we might have believed in the past. So I'm here, not as not as somebody who's followed a more conventional path, but actually who's started decades ago, and I think at some point I actually railed against this whole competency thing because I saw it getting in the way. But then when I saw the benefits that it would bring, particularly in terms of new people coming into the industry and actually connecting people to each other so that ongoing CPD could occur, that I saw that there were really important benefits, and it was important to support my industry in that journey, knowing that I don't think we've arrived at the end point. I think we're in a stage of evolution.
Okay, thank you. David, is there anything you wanted to say or add to what Louis was saying about the quality and the assurance and some of the challenges of the industry?
I think Louis summed it up quite nicely, because the biggest challenge that the industry has is the lack of regulation, and it goes back to something that Adele was saying about anybody can become a coach. And I have to add to that there are some very well-known coaching authors out there that perhaps at times don't do the coaching industry any favors by encouraging people to become coaches, but not necessarily adding to that, by the way, it's not just about the skills and qualities that you have. You really want to be going through an accredited training program. You really want to become accredited. You really want to almost sort of self-regulate. I think the other challenges are the fact that, and again, it comes back to something that both Louis and Adele were saying, that if bodies just follow each other, it becomes like much of a muchness, and people do things and organisations do things just because they think they should, not because there's any discernible reason doing it. And one of the things that we've started to do, and we will continue to do, is to look wider. So we look beyond the coaching and mentoring profession, as Del was outlining, and start asking those questions about, well, what else should we be doing? Something like, what is the future of this? So part of that process for us was to move away from the competence structure and move more into a capability model. which is a lot more accessible in terms of really finding out more about the people that we're accrediting. So there's a process whereby we have a conversation with people, and coaching, mentoring, training, provision is a relationship business. So we should be talking to people. We should be finding out a little bit more about them, about what their philosophy is, about how they ended up in coaching or mentoring or training provision, and that part of that whole process of assessment takes that into consideration and then puts their skills to the test through the capability assessment process, which again is a much more revised and holistic process, which allows the understanding of the diversity that people have, and the fact that some people specialize in coaching in certain areas, and therefore that's what they should be able to demonstrate. And I think the other challenges, so like within the coaching and mentoring industry specifically, and to a certain degree the consultancy industry, which I know we're not talking about, is that as industries change and industries close down, many people will just leave those with some sort of career advice suggesting, oh, you've got a lot of experience, why don't you become a coach? Why don't you become a business coach? You've been a director, why don't you become an executive coach? And that's all well and good, providing that those people gain the necessary skills that they need to be a coach and a mentor, not just the business element to it. And the more we can do this education piece, then the more people will start to ask those questions, and the more that will enable us to be able to say, look, coaching and mentoring and training provision, so like it matters, it has an impact. Therefore, we really need to potentially be heading towards like some form of regulatory body at some point. How that will take shape, I'm not 100% certain.
Okay. Adele, would you like to add to anything there?
Yeah, no, I think David's absolutely right, and I think that does happen, that a lot of people leave a long-standing career, and coaching does seem to be, or mentoring even seems to be, a good step for people. But absolutely, that without the training and the ongoing accreditation of that, I mean, I just think about the clients that I work, and in particular when I've been coached myself. I mean, actually, what we're helping people with is we're helping people with their goals and their aspirations, but also you're working with that person's limited beliefs. Now, limited beliefs come from experiences for people, and actually that level of realization sometimes can actually, although can be very freeing for that person, actually means that they're becoming quite a reflective space, and we're entrusted to work with that person in that moment, that they're having that moment, or their light bulb moment, but we're there with them. And if people are just going out and just coaching without the relevant skills to understand that, we could be doing or we're not really doing our clients any favors there. So absolutely, you do need to have the training aid to understand the skills and techniques and models that you can use with the client. But I mean, I think David put it perfectly. I mean, when he was saying, he'd got his O-level GCSE in biology, and I thought, well, yeah, I've got one of them, and I could not tell you for the life of me much about what I studied. So it's not okay for me years later to be I'm a biologist, or I'm this, or I'm that. But an accreditation, it requires you to continue to develop, and it's developing your capability as a coach, and becoming better at something. Because the more you do it, the more you practice, the more training you have. This is what it will do, is build the standards. Because once you've finished, if you go down the training route, and you do your training course and you finish your training course, you're sort of just at the starting gates, really. And the only way you become the best coach or mentor or trainer is through doing, it's repeating the, practice, 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 practice. And, as with anybody, it's the same. You learn to drive, the more you drive, the more competent you become as a driver, but you also pick up bad habits. So, everybody, will remember when you learn to drive, you have your hands at 10 to 2 on the steering wheel, and it's push-pull when you turn a corner. And then as soon as you've passed your test, we all cross our hands, drive with one hand on the wheel, maybe at the bottom, maybe at the top. And so that isn't necessarily the way we were taught to drive, but we develop bad habits. But unless we sort of continue to practice and continue to update our knowledge about being more competent and capable, then what we would be delivering to our clients could eventually be a very sort of muted down version of what we were trained to do. And I think that's why accreditation is so important. And it's so important, my background is from social work, and we have to demonstrate every few years what training we've done, how does the training relate to your skills, how have you applied your skills in practice, and all of that goes back to building public trust and confidence, and that's what we're aspiring to do.
Yeah, I mean, the things that I would add into the mix in terms of, well, why should somebody choose the IAPC&M versus somebody else, is that I think we're truly inclusive. We are now truly international. We've said we've been international for a long time, but now we have members from all around the world, and that we're actually putting our website and our documents into those languages, which makes it feel more inclusive for those practitioners from around the world who want to be part of a British accreditation body. And also because of the way that David and his team have changed the assessment process. We're in the business of having conversations. Coaching is a form of a communication, and it's not just about writing theses and essays on coaching. It's about having competency-based assessments and capability-based interviews, etc. So somebody can prove that they've got those skills, as well as all the other paper evidence like certificates and testimonials, etc. So I think that's, for me, quite an important reason why somebody would join the IAPC&M. And also, as I think you said, Adele, and not necessarily today, but another time I've heard you say, we're not answerable to shareholders. So it's not about being the biggest coaching or mentoring body. Our focus is about being on the best, and we're run by volunteers for the benefit of the industry. So we don't have some of those bottom line drivers that some of the other organizations have. So we can just focus on quality of the service that we give to our accredited members, and encourage them to improve the quality of the service that they give to the end user. So those are some of the reasons that are important to me as to why I would choose the IAPC&M. Tessa, do you have anything else that you would like to add as part of this conversation?
I think it's just to sort of reiterate the importance of the professional development side of things. I find the help I get from IAPC&M is invaluable in guiding me towards what I want to achieve through my coaching, and how then my clients ultimately can benefit from that. And the assistance I've had is fantastic, and I've been able to go away and do the right courses, learn the right things, and continue that professional development. And knowing that it's the accreditation is to be renewed every 3 years just keeps that motivation going to keep doing the right training to practice in the best way possible. So I think, that's a really important point.
Yeah, and we've always placed a great deal of importance on CPD, but now it's a fundamental part of upgrading. So for you going for your ASC and then your AMC and so on, that we're here supporting you for your whole coaching journey. And part of that is developing your business. So that means that the education department, which is a free value added support for all accredited members, It's there to help new practitioners make that leap from being certified and accredited as a coach into having a business, and learning step by step how do they do that. So the new program that we just launched last month, I think is going to become a really important part of people's why they would choose the IAPC&M over another organization, because of that ongoing CPD and business educational, not just coaching support, but business acumen support to help them actually realize and return on their investment, their training investment, and have a coaching business at the end of it. Okay, what, if anything else, would anybody like to throw into the mix to why?
Louis here. I'd really like to echo your last point, actually, because I think it is a unique differentiator between the bodies, which is the stuff about how to develop your business. And I think my experience of the other bodies, it's all about the practice, which is really, really important. And that picks up the previous point about the difference between knowledge, which we might think we gained some knowledge when we got our biology O-level, but of course we've retained none of it. And the difference between that and know-how or knowing. And coaching and coaching supervision is a relational dynamic. And so we can only get more practice by doing it. And I think the emphasis that you said about David putting on the importance of the conversations between people, I think that's something that we could make more of as well. That it's, and I think that ties into say coaching supervision groups, which might be something we could explore more of, is how we actually support people in their life practice, but getting into drawing on the insights of other practitioners. So it's not necessarily a one-to-one in an assessment stage. But the developing a business and actually seeing that this body is attending to the individual, to the user, and to the industry, and to the sustainability of all of them is a really important thing to me.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we really stepped up the value on the education department was last year, having done a big customer service feedback review, we understood that there was a gap to fill, Louis, between coaches becoming certified and then 18 months later perhaps drifting from course to course, either going back into full-time employment or something else, because they couldn't realize a return on their investment through a lack of skills, through a lack of confidence. And so we recognized that between us we had a vast amount of experience that we could share. And so we put together a 12-month self-teach education program that is now part of their CPD that will help them on that journey. So I think all these sorts of benefits, again, help practitioners identify who is perhaps the right body for them. And as you rightly say, there's quite a few out there and we all offer slightly different things. But it's about being the best that we can with the resources that we've got, and just keep improving year on year for the benefit of our members, because then ultimately the client is the end beneficiary. So all ideas are welcome. I mean, we're evolving. We're not perfect by any means. And it's a bit like our website. It's out there, it's launched, it's ready, but it's still a work in progress. And we will continue to keep improving standards and resources for the benefit of everybody, won't we, David? Yes,
yes, absolutely. I was just unmuting myself there so that there was no background noise.
Yeah. Okay, so we did say this would be one of many roundtable discussions, and in fact, Louis, we do have one coming up on the differences between coaching, mentoring, and supervision, and talking about the benefits of that. Because again, that links in with CPD. People will either, as practitioners, consider having their own coach, their own mentor, or their own supervisor as part of their ongoing growth. So that's another roundtable discussion coming up that we can all look forward to. But thank you everybody for your contribution and your time this afternoon. I hope this is going to be just another little snippet that is informative for people who are considering the type of membership and accreditation that they want and the levels. And now you can put faces to names and ask us any questions. But specifically, Adele, Head of Professional Services, you know, you've created some documents in the members area that help to reinforce the relationship that practitioners have with us and to demonstrate that they care about their clients. So things like complaints procedures, code of professional conduct, etc. And David, you will be rolling out the new accreditation process this year. So there's a lot of very exciting things going on, and it's a good time to be joining the IAPC&M. So any questions, let either myself or David or Adele know. And you now know a couple of our members as well, Tessa and Louis. So thank you for your contribution, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.